Thank you. Yeah, it's a great Wednesday. We're happy to be here, and hopefully you get a lot out of this session. And it's going to be an overview. As we were discussing earlier, we were originally intending this to be almost like a week-long session before COVID hit, and having, just kind of really walking through the process and taking, our time to really discuss each one of these topic areas. So we apologize. It's going to be a very fast session, a really high overview of, things to think about as you're starting a business or looking at an idea to turn that into a business. And if you're able to make money from that, if it's something of interest to you. And we just have a presentation, but we're going to be talking through it as well. And then, of course, we'll be able to, at the end of this, we'll figure out a way to share with you the slides and any materials that we have to anyone who is registered. So, Yolanda, you want to talk about Build?
Sure. So really quickly, we are Build Institute. We are an entrepreneurial innovation hub. We've been around since 2012. Both Christianne and I joined the team in 2016. So this is going on like 5 years for us soon. And everyone on staff are entrepreneurs, so we get it. We like walk the walk. We're busy with our 9 to 5, and we're busy helping other entrepreneurs, but we're also busy behind the scenes working on our own projects and our own endeavors. Our mission here at Build is really to empower people to launch and grow their ideas, their businesses, by providing access to education, resources, and whatever they need to get started. We really want to be the leader, the global leader in entrepreneurship in Detroit. Detroit is ripe with ideas and, just ideas. People don't always have access to the resources to help them bring these ideas to fruition. Not everyone went to business school. Not everyone has an MBA, but people have great ideas and great initiative. So we're here to support entrepreneurs as they define their ideas, as they decide if, their project is viable, and guide them and give them the resources necessary so that they can be successful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, this slide was supposed to be earlier. So this is actually an image of some youth entrepreneurs that participated in Youth Soup, which is a platform to win money, no strings attached money, micro funding for your business or your project. And this group of youth won the competition. They won money for their project, and now they can take that and then go help the world, so to speak, right?
Yeah, so that's many, I was going to say, there's just one of the many programs that we offer at Build. And especially that youth can participate in. And so outside of us, looking at programming specific classes, targeting youth, Detroit Soup is a program that is open to all ages. And it is a way that, as Yolanda said, micro granting to get seed, money to execute whatever project or idea. And it's open to anyone who applies. And so keep that in mind as you're looking at ways to, fund your business. We'll bring this up again at the end of the session, but, just put a little, bookmark that Detroit Soup is a great way to get funding for your business and for anyone of all ages.
So really quickly, what is entrepreneurship, right? Entrepreneurship is the pursuit of opportunity beyond resources controlled. This brought to us by Howard Stevenson, of Harvard University professor. And what is the point of these cute little puppies in clothes here? Well, there's always room for puppies and kittens and little baby animals, fur babies, right? But someone obviously saw a need for an awesome niche pet type of clothing here, and they figured out a way to make it happen. And so now you can go out and you can buy these awesome clothes for your puppies. There's a couple of questions here. Do puppies have to have clothes? Are they absolutely necessary? Should they be fashionable? Maybe that was a problem. Maybe that was a problem they solved here. Maybe they figured out that most pet clothing was boring and not fun and not colorful. And so they found a niche market here that they could provide for. They figured that maybe I can make, or we can make, clothing for animals that is more exciting. So they found a problem here, and they then found a solution. So entrepreneurship is not always about just going into business because you want to be a business owner or because you have something that you think people will like. Entrepreneurship is really about finding a problem and then finding a solution to that problem. So before you start to plan a business, really do some soul searching and investigate what problem can be solved. Or maybe you have encountered a problem yourself as a young person, as a youth, as a young adult. And you said one day, you know what, I need this, that, and the other, and I can't find it anywhere, and it doesn't exist. So maybe that right there signifies to you that I've discovered a problem, and I want to figure out how to solve it. Thus, I'm going to create a business around it. So when you think about a problem that you would like to solve, this is called a wave sheet, and it's really a very condensed version of a business plan. Once you've discovered this problem and you want to solve it, that essentially becomes your goal, right? So you'll walk this goal through the 4 quadrants of this sheet. The first being, why is this an important goal? What are we working to accomplish with this? And is this goal in alignment with our vision, mission, or our strategic direction? Yeah, those can be some big words, but they are something that's very good for you to think about when you're planning a business or a project. Your vision being, what you see for this project years down the line. Your mission being, why are you facilitating this project? Or why are you starting this business? What do you hope to achieve through this? And then, of course, strategic direction is like the planning of your project or your business. So the first quadrant is the why. What is the point? Why are we doing this? The second quadrant, is action. What are the specific actions that you need to take to bring your project or business to fruition? Do you need to do some research around it? Do you need to create a prototype? Do you need to, make some design sketches? What is going to make your goal, your project come to fruition? The third quadrant is engage. In order for this to work, in order to complete this task, who do we need to engage? Perhaps you have, do you need to talk to a professor? Do you need to talk to a banker? Do you need to talk to someone in funding? Do you need to talk to a focus group? Do you need some input from people to gauge whether your project is viable or it makes sense? Who do you need to engage? Who are the team members that can really help you bring this project or business to fruition? And the last quadrant is then visualize. You need to physically and mentally visualize what success looks like for you. And then proceed with realistic actions. Because if you are, trying to get to the moon or something like that, you can't get there from, you can't drive there, right? You have to become an astronaut. So what does that look like? What does that process look like for you? So that's it in a nutshell. Is there anything you want to add there, Christianne?
No, I think you summed it up great. And this is a great first step in terms of just starting to think about what does this project, what does this potential business look like to you, as Yolanda said, and really understanding your why do you want to do it? And as Yolanda mentioned before, what is that niche that is driving that why? Like, is there something out there that you're trying to solve? And how is that why going, what is that why driving it? And then, of course, breaking down those steps into smaller actions is really key. Because you can, as there's a phrase that's, saying that says the only way to eat an elephant is through small pieces. I know that sounds very graphic. But, you can't eat an elephant in one bite. You have to take it in little small chunks. And so how can you turn, your plan into small, bite-sized, quick wins, ways that you can just start to accomplish your goal of starting this business. And then, definitely the most important thing is visualizing, understanding what's going on, and then, figure out ways to drive action and who do you need to engage to drive those actions. So, there's also a reason why action and engage are like across from each other, because they're definitely very dependent on each other, that you need to engage individuals and people and other businesses and organizations in order to help you accomplish that goal. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
So next big one is around your customer. So this is one of many examples of what we call a business model canvas. And a business model canvas is kind of the next step of like how you start to execute your wave at a different level. And the business model canvas really allows you to look at your business in a visual way and really take it into small pieces. So a lot of times when you hear the word business plan, it's very daunting. You're thinking you're writing, 20 pages or 12 pages, or a lot of pages, and it's a lot of writing. I personally like the business model canvas because it's very visual. You can write things out, you can see what you're doing, and you can adapt and change things around very easily. And so when you're really thinking about the business model canvas, and you can Google search it and you'll come up with a variety of different ones and formats. We picked this one for this session just because we think it speaks to, really helping you work through this. But the one thing that I really stress is understanding your customer. So on the business model canvas, you see who do you help on the right side of the screen. And I would say that is the most important thing on here. Even though it says start here, what do you do? Yes, definitely start there. But I like to jump to the customer. And so really identifying who is your customer, who are you working with? Who's going to buy this product from you? Who's going to use this service that you're providing? That is really what you want to hone in on and understanding those needs. And one thing that many, corporations, bigger organizations have is what you call a customer persona. So you can almost think about drawing, an actual outline of a person and really giving them a name, identifying what they like, what they don't like, maybe where they live, what do they like to do, maybe what problem do they have, getting back to that, we're solving a problem. So it's really important, and especially as you're looking through your idea, is to really start to identify who that customer is, what you're trying to do with that customer. And so, I think about this and really take note of that is that one of your first steps as you're thinking about your business idea is to, draw a fictional person, and it could be any type of person. You want to give them a name. It could be Larry, what I'm saying? And then Larry might, likes lemonade, but he doesn't know where to find lemonade. And Larry's always looking around to see where he can possibly find some lemonade because he lives say he lives in Ferndale, and Larry's looking for lemonade in Ferndale, but he wants really easy lemonade anytime. So, you want to really start breaking down your customer in different ways. Sometimes people say, oh, but I have like 5 customers, or the whole world's my customer. One thing you don't want to say is the whole world's a customer, because as soon as you say the whole world is your customer, you're literally speaking to no one, because not everyone is going to buy your product or want to use your service. So you really want to identify who is going to be that typical customer that you can always depend on to buy that lemonade that you're about to produce. And then also start to think about, well, how are they going to get to where you are selling your lemonade? Is it online? Is it in front of your house? Are you in front of the park? You start to think about those little nuances and little things that really help you be a better business owner. No matter what size you are, no matter, if you're a startup, if you just have an idea, or you've been in business for hundreds of years. This is the key point, is really understanding who you want to talk to and who is going to buy from you, and understanding everything that they do on a daily basis. So another idea, and I know I'm throwing out a lot of things to you, is to really look at, what does your customer do on a daily basis? Make a clock, almost like a 24-hour clock, from, midnight the day before to 11:59 p.m. that same day, and really outline, what do you think your customer is doing all those, every single hour of the day, from waking up to eating breakfast, getting dressed. Are they going to school? Do they have other jobs? Do they have things that they do after school? What time are they doing homework? I'm just using kids, youth as an example. And then, what time they have to go to bed. Because then we start to realize that our customers are not available all times of the day. And so once we see that, maybe my customer is only available at 5 o'clock in the evening, how can I better sell to them at 5 o'clock in the evening so they can buy my product from me? Because if they're asleep, when I'm trying to sell, then that's not going to help. So you really want to start to think how your customer can really, be an asset to you. How can you guys work together? And then you want to also do a clock for yourself and see how your two schedules sync up. Are you working when they're sleeping? Are you sleeping when they're working? Are you busy when they're looking at, potentially buying your product? Those are all things you really want to start to consider. And also by doing a clock for yourself, you really just start to see if you have the schedule and the time to really execute on this. So back to the WAVE model shared earlier, what are those action steps you need to take? And then if you need to take those action steps, do you actually have the time in the day to fulfill those action steps? Because entrepreneurship and owning a business is definitely a lifestyle change. It definitely takes time, and it definitely takes dedication and determination. And so once you know what time and how much time you have in your day, you can really align those action steps to how much time you have in your schedule to give toward that project or business. So those are just some tips and things to think about as you are not only looking at who your customer is, but also doing, as Yolanda said, some soul searching and seeing, where you align with wanting to execute this idea into a business that can potentially make money. And then when you align those and you start to identify who your customer is, and the more you know about your customer, the more money you could potentially make. And then you start to be able to craft a message about them. And we can probably, I can start going on and on with, how you interact with them. But really, when you look at this business model canvas, when you start with your customer, that helps answer all these questions that are going to be in here. So I'll quickly not quickly, but quick enough, go through this and using the customer as the base point of, how you're starting to develop this idea. So and this might bounce around a little bit because there isn't a true methodology. There's ways that we like to do it at Build Institute and how we like to walk through, what a business model canvas looks like. So I apologize if I, say hop over to this box or hop over to that box. But when you look at your customer, I think the next thing you go to is what do you do? And really looking at that value proposition. And with that value proposition, it goes back to the why of your WAVE model and seeing, what do you do? Why do you do it? And what is that need that customer is looking for? What is that solution that you're trying to solve? And that is your value proposition, is really, I'm going to be able to do this to make my customers' lives better. It's going to make their life easier. It's going to make, it faster. They can have less stress. They can actually maybe make more money. They can be happier. Maybe they get more sleep. There's so many little things that your product or service can offer. And that's when you really want to start to think about your value proposition. And then, once you have your value proposition and understanding your customer, that kind of trickles out from there. So in terms of how do you interact with your customers? So going back to understanding your customer persona, what does your customer like to do? And how do they figure out what's going on in the world? Are they only on social media? Are they more avid readers? Are they, more surfing the internet? Where does your customer find out information from? Is it word of mouth? Is it just because they're more outdoorsy and they see things when they're outside? That is going to help you start to craft your message and also figure out ways to actually get that message to them. So what is marketing? And that's really how that interaction starts to work. So if your customer likes information very fast and quick because they're always on the move or really busy, you have to figure out quick ways to get that message to them. And if your customer is always on, say, Snapchat now, or I guess TikToks or Instagram, how can you create messages that are quick, that can fit into, that short, that time frame that you have on those platforms to get that message to them as well too. And, what's going to really capture their interest. Everything is visual. How can you make your product or service visual? What photos are you taking of what you're doing? Do you have sound snippets of, music that you may be producing? Anything that can get someone engaged, because right now we're at a point that people don't like to read, unfortunately. And so how can you visually or audibly get your message across to them in a way that makes them excited and want to learn more and click through to get more information? And so that definitely goes back to knowing who your customer is and knowing how they consume that information. You want me keep going, Yolanda, or you want to go in? I'll keep going. Oh, so
I couldn't unmute.
Unmute takes it out. So going back to on that business model canvas too, I would say the next thing is like distribution channels. But before we get to that, I think, and it's not on this specific business model canvas that we use, but we do have one that really talks about the competition or alternatives. And I always say that this is very important thing to look at as any business owner, anyone who has an organization, it could be nonprofit, for-profit. You really want to know what's going on in the marketplace, what's going on in the environment, and, seeing who competitors are out there. And, competitors aren't negatives. It's ways that everyone pushes themselves to do better all the time. Or I like to say cooperation, because a lot of times you're cooperating and collaborating and working with someone who actually might be a competitor to you. And so I like to also call this the vending machine of business life. And a lot of times if you think about a vending machine, and everyone's seen one, whether it's like a pop vending machine with pop and juices, or if it's like one with snacks with chips and cookies and candy, that is really what alternatives are and what competition is and who are those competitors. Because if you think about a vending machine, and I'm being the customer, I'm going to a vending machine because I'm hungry and I'm looking for something to solve my hunger problem. If I look at this vending machine, I see chips on the vending machine, then I see cookies, and then I might see donuts, and then I might see candy. All those are, competition and competing for my hunger solution in that vending machine. So that's what you also want to think about for your business. Who are potential competitors in your business? Who might be doing something similar to what you're doing? Who might be doing the exact same thing that you're doing? Any way that your customer can find out a solution to achieve, a solution to what problem they have, you have to take that into consideration. That's why there's so many social media platforms, because each one is competing with another and they're finding another little niche thing that they can do differently, but they're all, fighting for your attention to join their platform. That's why there's so many different, gym shoes, and, there's Nikes and Reeboks and New Balances and Under Armour and Puma and, Fila and Adidas and blah, blah, blah. The list goes on because they're all want something that's cool and want you to be able to, either work out in or just wear casually. So, you want to start to think about that for your own business as well, too.
And it's not about being intimidated because competition is out there. Like, it's going to be out there. It's going to exist. But it's important for you to know who is out there and what is out there, and understand that there could possibly be a room for you in the market. Someone gave me the reminder not too long ago where I was actually vacillating between some ideas around, part of my business and whether I wanted to keep offering, a certain item or not. And they reminded me, they said, well, when you go down the bread aisle in the grocery store, how many different types of bread do you see? Like 1 million different types, right? But they all sell. People still need bread. So just keep in mind that you might offer something that's similar to another product, but it's still different. And how can you continue to provide it in a different way, in a niche way, in a new way, in a way that people will appreciate, keeping in mind that it has to satisfy the customer's need, not just because you like it, not just because you think it's cool, but that they will really appreciate it, like it, use it, need it, etc.
Can you bring up the presentation again?
Oh, you can't see it?
Uh-uh.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I can see it. I don't know what happened.
I don't know what happened either.
Wow.
That's coming back. Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry. I did not know that it went away.
It's okay. I figured you took it down because we were talking about alternatives and it really wasn't on here.
No, I didn't know. Just let me know if it disappears again.
Right.
Okay, so do we want to talk about costs real quick, or do we still need to cover?
Well, I'll just touch on distribution channels.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I'll let you talk on costs.
Okay.
And so in terms of distribution channels, this is ways that you are actually able to get your product out. And how are you going to sell it? How are you going to, how are people going to get it physically in their hands or use your service? And so, kind of back to the Larry's Lemonade, are you selling it in front of your house? Are you selling it at the park? Do you have an online, lemonade that's prepackaged? All those things come into mind as you think about distribution. Are you prepackaging? Is it, made fresh or done right on the spot? Is it a service? So if it's a service, how are you getting to where you need to perform that service? Those are all little things to think about. But as I said, it goes back to your customer. And that's why those two are connected, because you want to make sure you're selling and, providing your service and product at the same place as where your customer wants to be too. So you don't want to make your customer feel uncomfortable doing something and going somewhere that they're not familiar with. And you want to be able to reach them so that it is as easy as possible for them to get what you're selling.
Cool. So really quickly, cost. It takes money to make money, right? So how much money is it going to cost for you to produce whatever item you're selling or to provide whatever service you're providing? For example, if you are, let's get to the old lemonade stand, always an awesome entrepreneurial endeavor in the summertime for youth. If you want to provide lemonade at a stand in front of your house or at the park, well, I won't say the park, in front of your house during the summertime, what is it going to cost you to be able to create this lemonade stand, to get the lemons, to get the sugar, the cups, the ice cubes, whatever items you need to be able to make a sale? What are the initial costs? You need to know that, because you need to be able to make enough money to cover those costs, right? You also need to know, and we can go into detail about this later, like if we have some time, but you also need to know how much are you going to sell each cup of lemonade? And what you sell those cups of lemonade for have to be able to cover your costs. as well as to generate a profit. You have to be able to make money. We're not in business for the fun of it. We're not in business because we have nothing better to do. We have to make money. That's what business is about. So we have to make the money to cover the costs of the items that we need, and also enough money to profit from it. So at the end of the day, our costs are covered, and we have money that we can put back into our business to continue to grow our business. And then we also have a profit that we can say, hey, I made enough money that I can actually pay myself so that I can actually go grocery shopping, or go put gas in the tank, or go buy a new car, buy a house, those big lofty goals, or go buy some books for school, etc. So we have to think about money and costs in different ways. And then over here to the revenue stream, how much will you make? So that's also about talking about your profit goals. How much money do you want to make? How many cups of lemonade must you sell every hour of every day, every week, to reach your final goal, right? So we can do some math there later on. We can walk through an example, like if we have time. And that's like money, cost, unit, profits at a very, very high level. Christianne, did you want to add anything to there? Because we do want to have time for the rest of our slides and some questions.
No, I mean, I would say exactly. I think the other thing is just how much you need to make to keep your business going too. You want to be able to make sure that you're not constantly losing money by trying to keep your business idea going. But just know that usually in the first year or so, you might actually lose a little bit of money. And that's normal. It's very common. Some businesses take, quite a few years to actually get to the point they're making enough money to, sustain them and continue to grow. So don't get nervous or worried if you feel that you're not making money immediately, because it definitely takes time, to generate customers. It takes time to understand how to do it better, faster, more efficient. You might be buying cups at Kroger, for your lemonade stand, but then you realize, if you go to Costco or Sam's Club, you can get more cups for cheaper for, a better price. And then you might realize, I have to scale to a whole nother level. I need to maybe contact someone who sells me thousands of cups at a time, instead of just, 100 cups at a time. Those are things that you learn, but also start to adapt to as it relates to your costs and understanding how much you need to make in order to make your business sustainable, meaning that you are not going to, you can do well by, selling, 20 cups of lemonade an hour, and, you continue to, make your business grow and be profitable. Any less, you might lose money. Any more, you can scale and have, multiple lemonade stands on every block and every corner that you want to.
Cool. All right, moving on. Uh-oh. All righty, animals, another fur baby, right? This cat has a goal though. This cat can obviously jump and reach its goal, reach its toy. But if we're planning a business, we have to have kind of a roadmap. We have to know how we're going to accomplish that goal. So we're going to talk quickly about the one-page business plan. And I'm afraid to move the cursor because I think I might cut it off again. And Christianne, can you cover this? Because
yes,
it's covered by my screen right now.
Yes, I can. So, this is a way that we start to, put everything that we've been talking about together. And how do you just make a very simple business plan? And it's really just, answering these questions that you've been answering all along to begin with in those first two exercises. And the first one is just around the overview of going back to what will you sell? Is it a product? Is it a service? What are you selling? Just answering that very efficiently and quickly. The next one is who will buy it? So going back to that customer question of who is your customer and why do they want your product? The next one after that is how will your business idea help people? And that really goes to that value proposition and that goal and that reason and that why that we talked about earlier, which is so important. As you see, like this keeps coming up between, you know, your value proposition, your why, you know, this is something that, you know, you definitely need to have an answer for, because that is what's going to fuel you and keep you excited and keep you waking up every day wanting to do better and better at your business. And so that's why you see this reiterated and said over and over again. But, you know, how's your business going to help people? You know, everything helps someone. You know, just because I have this Snickers candy bar, you know, it helps me cure my hunger. It helps me feel happy because I ate it and it gives me a sugar rush. You know, so things as small as that definitely help someone out. It just might not be as obvious. You have to think about it. I mean, if you like to make, you know, flower bouquets, that makes someone feel happy. Maybe if they're sad, or maybe if they just want to feel happier. You know, just everything has a reason why. Moving on from that is the ka-ching session, meaning the money. You know, so what will you charge? Going back to what Yolanda said about, you know, what is that price point? You know, how much is your customer willing to pay? You know, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you're charging enough that you cover your costs. You don't want to charge too little, but you don't want to charge too much. If you're familiar with Goldilocks, you remember Goldilocks and the Three Bears? It's the same thing. You know, she said, this porridge is too cold, this porridge is too right, and then, this porridge is too hot, and then this porridge in the middle is just right. You have that same thing as you think about your pricing. You want to have it right in the middle of a place that, you know, isn't too much for your customer, but isn't, you know, too, it's you know, charges enough to cover your costs, as I said before.
And you want to get your pricing right in the beginning as much as possible, because it's harder to raise your prices later and to hold on to your customers, because people get comfortable. People are creatures of habit. And if they're used to paying $5.99 for something and you all of a sudden raise the price to $7.99, even though it's just $2 more, they're going to balk and they're going to complain and they're going to go to social media and talk about you. And then they're going to go buy something from someone else. So, and they might come back to you later because they might realize that your quality is better than someone else's, but it might take a year for them to come back. So you want to work as hard as you can to get your pricing correct in the beginning, and understand that pricing, and understand that pricing can be emotional as well. So it's not a perfect science, but it is important to understand that pricing can be emotional, and people think about money and numbers in an interesting way.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I would say also, as you're just starting out, you have the ability to, you know, try all those 3 Goldilocks levels. And as Yolanda said, to get it right. Because you can, you know, have similar products. There might be, you know, one might be red, one might be blue, one might be green. And you can charge different prices for all 3 and see which ones people gravitate towards. That's, I would say, the benefits of being a new business, is that you can try different things as you're starting to build up your customer base, and getting that customer feedback on your product or your pricing, and see what works best for them. And then you can start to establish, okay, my product's going to cost $5.99 and I'm going to stick with it. Or no, I'm going to stick with the $7.99 because I got enough people to buy it and they like the quality and they are willing to pay that price. But my cost may only be $3.99. So then you have a $4 profit. So that is what, you know, things that you want to try out, but don't be scared to try. Business is all about trying and adapting and growing and, you know, doing new and different things to make you be better about, you know, how you are an owner. And taking this time as you're just starting out is a great opportunity to play with different pricing models. And so just something to keep in mind. So how will you get paid? Back to the business plan sheet, exactly what we just talked about. Finding that right price to make sure that you cover your costs, but then if you have a little extra on the side, that's how you're going to get paid. So finding that right pricing. The third one is, how else will you make money from this project? And so sometimes, depending on what type of business or service that you're selling, it could be anything from, you maybe have a sponsorship, or, you might sell or partner with someone. Maybe, you might, have like sell, if you have like a magazine that you publish, that might be different advertisements, or you do it advertorial, or, you do different features. I mean, there's so many different ways, but just think, that's a different stream of income to help you with that. But you don't want to create a whole new product line to say, this is how I'm making additional money. You want to stay very focused on like, a certain product line to just start off with, or a certain service, and then grow and scale as the need comes up and as it makes sense for your business. So you don't want to sell cookies and then all of a sudden, start cutting hair. Like either you're going to sell cookies or you're going to cut hair, but you can't be selling cookies and cutting hair under the same business. So just keep that in mind. So as you think about how else will you make money, think about how else you make money within the same business line that you're already working on. Now going up to hustling. So how will customers learn about your business? That's going back to that marketing I talked about, making sure that you talk to your customer that the way that they want to be talked to, via the channels that they want to hear from you at, and the right type of messaging. Is it fast? Is it, is it really happy? Is it really just serious? All those different things go into how will customers learn about you. And a big one, which is the next question, is how can you encourage referrals? Business is, primarily word of mouth. It's definitely influencer driven. And when I say influencer driven, I'm not talking about Instagram influencers. Yes, some businesses are, but, in real life, before Instagram existed, when you knew you wanted to buy something, usually you talk to a friend, a family member, you saw someone walking down the street with it. You're like, oh, that's something that, either I heard of or I would like to hear more of, because, they seem happy using that product or service. So, that is the best way to really grow your customer base is, how to get referrals. So always think about ways that how can you get people to tell more people about what you do in a good way, and really having that good high level customer service and giving them reasons to talk about your business in great ways.
And I want to add two good reasons for those customers to return and to keep shopping from you, because it's easier to sell to customers that you have already acquired than it is to try to go out and acquire new customers. If you have people who trust you and they know your product, they're going to continue to shop from you and to support you, or to, engage your service. It takes more time and more money to advertise to like a whole new market of people or new groups of customers. I mean, you can definitely do this, but make sure that you keep your current customers happy with, with information, newsletters, maybe, coupons here and there, but coupons are another thing we could talk about later. But just make sure that your customers, your current customers, know who you are, what you're doing, where you are, and always know how to get in contact with you and to return and shop from you, and so to support you, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The next category is success. And so this project will be successful when it achieves these metrics. So similar to what Yolanda mentioned before about number of customers, how many customers do you need to have, or how many cups of lemonade do you need to sell in order to be successful during that time? And so, sometimes customers, means sales if you're a service business, or customer means a certain number of products that they're going to buy on an annual basis. But, start to think about, what do you want to achieve in terms of actual paid customers that are going to be utilizing what you are offering. Or, back to Yolanda mentioned that financial goal, how much money do you want to make by the end of the year? Or, let's scale it down. How much money you want to make by the end of the month on a monthly basis? And really thinking about, if you need to make, $200 this month, what things do you need to do to achieve that $200? And so, if success means that you have, 500 customers by the end of the year, great. Or if success means that you make $500 by the end of the year, that's great too. Don't let anyone tell you what success needs to look like. That is one big thing we preach at Build Institute, is that success looks like however you want success to look like. If it's success is just starting a business and you may only have one sale, that's great. You know how many people on Shark Tank go on Shark Tank and only have one sale? A lot. And so don't think that that is not success. Success may be that you want to employ 3 of your friends. Great. Employ 3 of your friends. Maybe you want to actually eventually travel the world. That's great with your business. You define what success is. Don't let anyone out there tell you what success needs to look like. So that's just one thing that, we really want to stress, is that this is up to you to determine what that is.
Right. And really, at the end of the day, like, you're in competition with yourself and your business. If you find that, a month from now or a year from now, you're further along than you were before the previous year, and you've hit some great goals, like, that is your competition. So don't look at what everyone else is doing all the time, because it can be very distracting. What did I read the other day? It said that while you're busy looking at somebody else's plate, your plate is getting cold, your food is getting cold. So yes, we can be aware of what's going on around us, but we can't let the stress of, competing with someone else really bother us and really get to us, because in the end, it causes, internal stress and anxiety, and then we can't focus and we can't be our best selves and really do what we need to do for ourselves and our business and our families. So the last section on this one-page business plan is a space for obstacles, challenges, and questions or things that you are still concerned with regarding your business. And it's just a space to list some things that maybe you need to go back later and do some research around. So the difference between what we just talked about, the one-page business plan, and the business model canvas, are not too many differences. This one is just it's more left brain, right? Yeah, it's just written out. It's content, it's language, especially for those people who enjoy lists. And the other is, I'm trying to go back to it. Oh, I don't know how to go backwards. I don't know what happened here.
There you go.
Okay, and this business model canvas, this is essentially a business plan. It's just more of a visual tool. So you're basically plugging in the same types of information here. And then what you would do with the information from both of these plans, these type of plans, is really input it into a large business plan. That could be a 5-page or a 10-page business plan. And you would add in, some projections and some numbers. Those plans are great for if you're going to a bank or you're presenting in front of a funder or on Shark Tank or something, and they need to see everything lined up, everything laid out. They need to see the numbers, the projections, and really an in-depth plan. So these are great, especially this business model canvas. This is great if you have a couple ideas you want to run through, and maybe you want to see which of your business ideas makes the most sense. So without putting in tons of time and tons of energy, you can easily, use sticky notes to answer all these questions, and it can help guide you in your business planning. And I see someone has a question up here.
Yeah. So that's a great question, really going into cost. So the question says, can you touch on the need to consider all the inputs and underlying costs that are required to produce and sell your product or service for young entrepreneurs? I.e., sometimes individuals consider only the cost of the ingredients required to bake the wedding cake and not the gas required to deliver it. Excellent question. Yes, you definitely need to look at all the costs. And as you grow in your business, other costs pop up. Insurance, not to scare anyone, but insurance is a big one. We know how the world we live in today is. And, you know, you need to make sure you protect yourself, and insurance costs money to protect yourself. So even if you're cutting hair, you know, on the side, granted, you shouldn't be doing that without a barber's license or, you know, esthetician license. I can't say the word right now. You know, you want to make sure that you have all those other costs in mind. And yes, it takes money to get to where your customers are. So whether it's gas to get in the car, is it gas to pay someone to drive you? Is it, you know, bus fare? Is it Lyft money? All that, you know, definitely are costs involved. It really depends on the type of business, but you really have to think about going back to the business model canvas. And even the one-page business plan, how are you going to get people to get to the products and services you need? Like, how are you distributing them? And, you know, even how are you marketing in that? Do you need to spend money on marketing? Do you need to spend money to boost an ad? Do you need to pay someone to do graphic design? You know, there's a lot of other costs that come into play. And it, you know, it's something that we start to outline, you know, when we do a deeper dive into all this. But, you know, you have to think about how are you going to get from point A to point B. Yes, you like the middle area, because the middle area sometimes is a fun part, but really think about all the costs that also come into it. So, you know, do you need to rent a space out to sell your product, or even to make your product or service? Do you need to buy equipment in order to, execute what you're doing? Do you need to buy a website, and pay for a website, which also requires a domain name and, actually building out that site, that service, whatever you may decide to use. And then it takes time, money every month to maintain it. Whether it's paying for your domain monthly or annually, or paying for that website hosting service annually or monthly. There's costs everywhere, and that's how everyone makes money and makes the world go around.
Absolutely. And to expound on the Tyrone's question, in regards to the wedding cake, yes, you need to consider the cost of maybe the box that the wedding cake is going to come in, any tissue paper, any cards that you associate, we already talked about the delivery, any setup, what do you call the cute little tray that the wedding cake sits on, like every aspect of that, any parts of the icing or decoration or whatever the case is. If you're shipping, and I don't know about shipping a wedding cake, but if you're shipping your product, whatever it is, you need to incur shipping costs. You need to be able to charge for those costs. You need to be able to charge for if it's a piece of jewelry, you have to buy a box for the jewelry to go in, tissue paper that goes in the box, any type of ribbon you're wrapping, like each little individual piece of your product you need to take account for. And when you're pricing your product, how much you're selling it for, you need to make sure that the price of that item is going to cover the cost of everything associated, and your labor. How much time is it taking you to make these items or cakes or cookies or whatever? Are you charging $10 an hour for your service? Are you charging $20 an hour for your service? And we find that sometimes, for example, my kids have created jewelry and sold that jewelry. And, my son, not understanding the numbers yet, when he was young, he said, "Yes, Mommy, I want to sell this necklace for $5. I'm like, "Well, babe, it costs $5 for you to simply cut this piece out. Your time is more than $5. The $5 doesn't cover the time it took you to make it, plus the string, plus the wood, plus the whatever the case is. You have to account for each additional item." And did you want to add anything? I'm going to go to the next screen. Okay. So start somewhere and not everywhere. Christianne already alluded to, you can't have the cookie shop with the barbershop. They don't go together. You might have a million awesome ideas, and you might want to kind of change the world with your ideas and everything. But you have to start, kind of with one solid idea first, work through that, make it successful, and then you can start to scale or add another element to your business that makes sense, though. That's something that's relevant to what you're already doing.
Are there any other questions? I know we're have a few more minutes left. Make sure that we didn't leave anything unturned. So if there, give me another minute, but as we said, we'd definitely love to bring this, make this a longer session, in the future, hopefully at a time, whether we could be face-to-face or not. At Build Institute, we're definitely looking at, funding to help bring this type of curriculum to, youth 10 to 18 to really give them a more in-depth view of, what it takes to start and run a business versus trying to cover, 8 weeks of curriculum in 40 minutes. We want to make sure that, we give an opportunity for this next generation of entrepreneurs to really, get all the lessons they need in order to be the best business owners that they can be. So definitely bear with us. We don't have, that on the schedule just yet. But based on, all of you being here today, we definitely see that there is demand and interest to offering that. And we're happy to, continue to answer questions, or you can definitely reach out to us, on our social media platforms, and, we can be of assistance. We also do technical assistance hours, which are kind of like free consulting hours, actually consulting time. It's not a full hour. It's 30 minutes. And it's on our website at buildinstitute.org. And so if you're, if you have something that you want to talk more about, you can definitely reach out to Yolanda and I, or any of our team members on that, on our website to see about arranging a time just to chat with us for a few minutes more about your business idea. And we'll be happy to assist.